Guess who's back again. It's us. A recent study suggests. Welcome back to a new episode. I'm your host, Robert. And with me, my co-host, who seems totally not weirded out by what I just did.
No, we didn't discuss this at all beforehand. This is Sam.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Robert?
I'm good. I'm here. We're back for another week. Ready to take a look at other studies.
Yeah.
I think this one might be the most important study we've taken a look at so far.
I agree. You know, there's a lot of things that we can easily debate about in life with the way that things are going right now, but I think that there's something that has been avoided and it just deserves to be addressed.
Yeah, we've waited several weeks to bring this up. It seemed like a big controversial topic, and it felt time. Like we needed to hash things out, bring things out in the open.
Especially with this pandemic going on and people having to be home more, and you're not able to go places like restaurants or, this is one of those topics that I think affects everyone right now.
Yeah, so this week we are taking a look at the age-old question. Does it matter where you store tomatoes?
It does.
It does? You think it does?
I mean, this study, Actually, I'm not sure that this study does much to prove anything about the temperature of tomatoes.
So this is something we talked about, I think maybe in the first episode or so, that a lot of these studies are kind of meaningless. They don't mean anything. And it's unbelievable to think that money went into this study, figuring out whether tomatoes should be stored in the fridge or not.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
Time, money, effort, so much went into it that really shouldn't have.
I think even thousands of people. So, money well spent. So before we get into the study, Robert, does it matter to you where you store tomatoes?
No, but I have always stored them in the fridge.
Okay.
Just out of habit.
Yeah, me too. So at first thought, seeing this study, I'm just like, yeah, it matters where you store tomatoes because they always go in the fridge. But it turns out it doesn't really matter.
So researchers from the University of Göttingen in central Germany were trying to figure out the answer to this question. For some reason, I don't know why, but they did. Basically, they got 12 people to be part of their sensory panel.
Okay, so not thousands. I was wrong.
Yeah,
12 people.
Yeah, 12 people in this sensory panel that were experienced and trained evaluators that used their senses to evaluate the sensory properties of products. Mm-hmm. I don't know what any of that means.
Neither do I.
I think, you know what? I would say that I am an experienced and trained evaluator.
Yeah, because you have experience with eating your whole life.
I use my senses to figure out things, properties of products, whatever that even means.
I think that what they did here is they threw a bunch of really big words and sentences that don't really make sense just so that it can validate their reasoning for conducting this study. Because it's a bit of an oddball.
Yeah, trying to figure out if tomatoes belong in the fridge or don't. That's pretty much of an oddball. So they got them all from the same place that all underwent like the same post-harvest thing. They all went the same thing. And they stored them in about 45 degrees Fahrenheit or room temperature, which is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So, about a 20 degree difference.
Yeah.
And then they got these 12 experts to taste the tomatoes, but so they couldn't tell which tomato was the one that was chilled and left at room temperature. They were both set at room temperature. And they were just, eat tomatoes. This is your job for the day. So
they were served at room temperature, but they were stored differently.
To see whether or not that had any effect on the flavor of it.
Right.
They tested some specific things.
Yeah, so they tested it based off things like their odor, their flavor, the sweetness, sourness, juiciness, and the firmness of the fruit peel, and the aftertaste. It
seems like specific things, but it's really just how it tastes.
Yeah.
That's ultimately what it is, how it tastes. Does it taste any better or not? And can you believe that they found that there was no difference, really?
What I think is funny about this is they determined, okay, temperature didn't matter, but what did matter was the type of tomato that they were eating. So if it was like aroma tomato, a cherry tomato, or whatever other types of tomatoes, what made the difference was their flavor. Which, duh,
What made the difference was the variety of it.
Yes.
Because, of course, a different tomato will taste better to you if you like that specific tomato.
Yes. Of course, flavor affects flavor. It sounds like we're kind of crapping on this study a little bit, but there is a little bit of notoriety here.
Does it sound like that? Does it sound like we're kind of being negative on this study? No. No, not at all.
So it says that the researchers note that regardless of which method you use to store your tomatoes, they will taste better when stored for a short amount of time.
Yeah, the shorter the storage time, the better it tastes to people.
Yeah.
Which this is something that I think too, like when it comes to fruit as well, you like things really ripe. Like it's starting to brown, like bananas specifically.
Yes.
You like them when they start to brown.
I do.
This kind of goes contrary to that. People found that it tastes better when it wasn't stored as long.
So what does that mean necessarily? I'm a bit confused by that. So when it's not stored as long, does that mean that it's not as ripe?
Yeah, that it's not as squishy.
Okay.
They've all gotten, since they were all, they all had the same post-harvest, they're all around the same age, I guess.
Okay, so like you just said, so that is basically their age, the age of the tomato. To me, doesn't necessarily go with storage, that just goes with their overall age.
But it's how long they've had it, so yeah, it is the storage.
Yeah.
It goes contrary to what you normally do with like bananas, because you like I said, you like to keep bananas for a while. They go really brown. You like them like that. Which that doesn't make any sense to me because they're all squishy, they're mushy.
See, the reason why I like my bananas to be so brown and spotty is because I freeze them for the most part. So when you freeze bananas when they're at their peak ripeness, they're super sweet.
But I don't think that's peak ripeness. I think what you're doing has gone beyond ripeness.
I like them sweet. I don't think that's a problem.
I guess, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't like to eat bananas when they're squishy. Like just peel it, eat it. It's kind of gross, the feeling in my mouth, but I will freeze them and have them in a smoothie.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that it seems like people prefer, less, not necessarily like less, they don't like them raw, like unripe fruit, but they like it, not to go as far as
squishy.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it seems like to me.
Okay, so if tomatoes can go in or out of the fridge, what are some fruits or vegetables or any food in general that you think does not belong in the fridge?
Fruit that does not belong in the fridge?
Or any food.
Bread. Bread would be my one.
Bread?
Yeah, bread does not belong in the fridge.
I think that bread should not start in the fridge. If you've had it for like a week or so and you're like, okay, I'm eating this really slowly, maybe it can go in the fridge. I've put bread in the fridge before.
You're an animal.
What?
You're a monster.
I'm not. No. There was a time period where I was eating pumpernickel bread for 2 weeks. And it had to go in the fridge because I didn't want it to go bad. I just had so much pumpernickel bread. And I'm sure plenty of people have overbought bread and been like, I gotta freeze it, I gotta refrigerate it, I gotta do something so just so it doesn't go bad.
See, to me, freezing it is also like just adding water to it. So like once it defrosts, you got like watery bread, which does not sound good. Maybe not freezing it. It doesn't go straight into the freezer. I don't want cold bread.
You let it cool down, or you just put it in the toaster.
Nah, I also don't really toast my bread either. I prefer like just room temperature bread and sandwiches.
You like it so you like your bread squishy, but you don't like your banana squishy.
They're two different things, though. They're two different things. The texture of the bread does not change when you leave it out. It stays the same.
Well, sometimes it can get kind of hard if it's stale.
That's if it gets stale. That's like if you left the bag open and air gets in and gets into it. That's different.
Okay. So you think bread. I think that peanut butter, or any nut butter for that matter, should not go in the fridge. Because then you lose all of the creaminess. All of the things that make it incredible, it's just gone. You've made it harden.
I'll agree with you there. I don't want like hard peanut butter.
Mm-mm. And you know what? That actually reminds me of another thing that I found. Or actually you found, but I read it. It's about 20 foods that don't need to go in the refrigerator. And one of those 20 things was butter.
Yeah, butter. I do put my butter in the fridge. I don't know why. I just do like it's because we both done this where we, we're getting toast and want to put butter on it, and it's hard butter, and so it just breaks the toast.
I think that mostly happens in your case because you said that for the most part you like your bread untoasted. If you're putting like a stick of butter on soft bread, that is the worst thing.
Yeah, it's gonna tear the
That
bread
is
up.
awful. And could you imagine doing that to your bread with your cold peanut butter? It's a nightmare. I don't eat butter anymore, but I've had that experience before where the butter just kind of breaks apart my bread. So I can understand that. But that never stopped me from putting butter in the fridge.
Yeah, me either.
I just kind of dealt with it.
Yeah.
This is how it is.
Because it seems like it's a dairy product that, it needs to be in the fridge, but it doesn't.
Yeah. There are several other things that don't go in the fridge, according to this article at least.
Yeah, before you go into the other ones, I wanted to mention that, we got into this whether tomatoes need to be in the fridge or not, which kind of led us to talk about ketchup.
Right? Oh, that's right.
Because ketchup is in the fridge, but tomatoes don't have to be stored in the fridge.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, neither does ketchup.
Yeah.
Ketchup doesn't have to be in the fridge. It does say on the packaging, refrigerate after opening, but that's kind of, I feel like it's more to like kind of like cover their ground in case it goes bad.
Yeah.
We told you to put it in the fridge. But I think Heinz themselves have come out and said like, yeah, go ahead and store it in the fridge, even though it doesn't need to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's the vinegar in ketchup that lets it be okay being outside of the fridge.
And I think I would prefer ketchup to be room temperature too.
Me too. I don't like cold ketchup, but I still have it in the fridge.
Because typically when you eat ketchup, you're having it with something warm.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have when you have cold ketchup on your warm French fries or your warm burger, it changes the temperature of the thing that you just made, that you intentionally made to be warm. So it does make sense. But again, I'm so used to, like you, putting ketchup in the fridge that I never think twice about it.
Yeah, it's like this societal pressure that I'm feeling for some reason. I don't know why. I'm just gotta put things in the fridge.
But is that the case with all condiments? Like, could you keep all condiments out of the fridge and they're fine?
I don't think so. I mean,
mayonnaise?
I wouldn't. Yeah, I feel like mayonnaise you couldn't because it has egg.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure what mustard has.
Mustard.
I don't really like mustard, but just thinking about it, I would say mustard's okay being out of it, but I'm not sure.
I think mustard is okay to not go in the fridge because it's made out of a seed. It's mustard seeds.
Mm-hmm.
So it's plant-based. So I think it's safe to not go in the fridge.
Yeah, well, neither one of us have a clue. Did you like mustard? Do you like mustard?
Do I like mustard currently? I don't think I've had mustard in a very long time. Like, maybe when I was a teenager and I decided I didn't like it because it was sour.
So you don't like mustard then?
But my taste buds have changed, so...
I guess. I don't like mustard. I think it is probably the worst condiment ever created. It should not exist.
He wants to lose listeners, clearly. Look, I'm not picking a side. If you like mustard, you're great. I don't judge you. Maybe I'll judge you if you put peanut butter in the fridge, but I won't judge you if you eat mustard. Also, I might judge you if you put things like syrup in the fridge. Syrup does not belong in the fridge.
We have it in the fridge. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh, when I first met Robert and I went to his home, opened the fridge, and I saw syrup in there.
That's the first thing you did, by the way, when you came over. You're like, I'm going to go straight to your fridge because this is like my number one deal breaker. But
exactly. You gotta see what's in the fridge right away. When I saw the syrup in there, I was like, what? What kind of person put syrup in the fridge? And then it got worse because I saw that you guys later also put peanut butter in the fridge sometimes. I don't know that you do it.
I don't do it.
You don't do it. But oh my gosh, 2 red flags.
I didn't hear from her for 2 weeks.
Right. Should have been my exit. Yeah, those are 2 things that I think. Peanut butter and syrup, don't do it. Syrup needs to be pourable.
Yeah. And like room temperature or warm syrup on like pancakes or waffles.
Yes.
That's the way to go.
Again,
not cold.
Like we were saying, when you put something cold on top of something that you made to be warm, like pancakes, you want warm pancakes, putting the cold syrup on it just turns your pancakes cold.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just something like I guess you could have cold pancakes, but they're just better warm.
They are. But what are some other foods on this list that
That don't need to go in the fridge?
don't need to go in the fridge?
So I was very surprised by this because the number one the number one food that does not need to go in the refrigerator, according to this article, is tomatoes.
Which I think makes sense. It does. I don't think it needs to be in the fridge.
Yeah, I guess so. Number 2 is bananas, which I agree. Have you ever put a banana in the fridge?
I don't think so.
I've put bananas in the fridge. You know what happens? They turn black.
Yeah.
Which is fine, I guess. But if you put green bananas in the fridge, they become green and black. So they're still kind of sour, but they look like they've gone bad. So it's probably best to just keep them out.
You know what I didn't know that I found out was like the plastic around the stems that helps the bananas from ripening too quickly.
I always take it off.
I didn't know. I thought they just had this plastic on the stem for whatever, no reason. I didn't realize that it helped them not ripen as quick.
Yeah, I think that's stupid. I think it's wasteful.
I think I like that. I think that's cool.
No.
So bananas don't go as bad quickly.
But they don't go bad. They get good.
No, you go to the extreme. You go to the extreme.
You're stopping your bananas from reaching their full sweetness potential. Anyway, bananas, don't put them in the fridge. The next one is citrus fruits. So that's like lemons, limes, oranges, grapefruits, which I totally agree with.
I agree with as well.
Well, actually, lemons and limes, I think in my family we've always put them in the fridge.
We've put them in the fridge too.
Yeah.
But like, the thing is, we put a lot of things in the fridge that don't necessarily need to be in the fridge.
Yeah, and I think that's something that this article talks about.
It's just that what's we're used to.
Yeah, this person in particular says that they put like 95% of their groceries in the fridge, and they just discovered like, oh, some things just don't go in the fridge. So if you've ever put an orange in the fridge and try to peel it afterwards, it is awful.
I've never done that. What is that like?
Awful. Well, first of all, the peel hardens a bit, so it just, if you're peeling it with your nail, it just like digs in there, and then the whole thing gets cold, and so your thumb
lose feeling.
Yes, it gets like frozen in the midst of you doing that, and you forget like, oh, you're peeling and the peel is going under your nail. I had this happen to me recently where I was peeling for so long I lost feeling, and then later on.
So you had an orange in the fridge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we had oranges in the fridge. Because my family, like I'm sure lots of families, put everything in the fridge. So I'm peeling these oranges, and I peeled several so I could pack it for like a weird lunch that I was having that day. And later on, under my nail was bruised.
Underneath your nail was bruised?
It was bruised because I was peeling for so long and I lost feeling, and the peel got hard, and so it was like really digging under my nail. So the peel gets softer when you don't put the orange in the fridge. The next fruit is avocados.
Once again, our avocados are in the fridge.
I think it's perfectly okay to put the avocados in the fridge. I like colder avocados. I don't particularly want a warm avocado. Also, once you cut into it, if you're not eating the whole thing, it's better to put it in the fridge so that it doesn't get gross, because avocados can easily turn brown once you've cut them up.
If you're not going to eat all the avocado and it goes in the fridge, wouldn't you rather want it to be like just left out normally, and then when you're not going to eat some of it, then put it in the fridge?
No, because I like cold avocado.
Yeah, cold avocado. I don't know if there's anything in particular that I like cold besides maybe like watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon is good.
Watermelon is good cold.
Okay, apples. Apples are good cold.
Okay, yeah, some apples are.
I don't think apples are on the list of this, but I like my apples in the fridge because I like them to have a bit of a crunch. I
don't know, just to me, like sometimes cold fruit like hurts my teeth, and so like I don't want necessarily apples in the fridge. I'm good with watermelon, but like apples, I can take either way. Not that apples can't ever go in the fridge, but I think I'd prefer them out of the fridge.
Speaking of cold fruit hurting your teeth, I don't understand this obsession with freezing grapes.
That is weird to me.
That is so weird.
That is so weird to me.
One of your cousins tried to get me to try frozen grapes, and she was like, it's revolutionary, you'll love it. And I tried it, and I did not like it.
It's like, it's melting in your mouth, and like, that's weird. Like,
I'm thinking about it now. It's making my teeth feel weird. It's giving me that cringy feeling, like someone's scratching a chalkboard.
It's like sort of mushy, but not too at the same time.
I hate it. I can't get into it. And apparently, freezing watermelon is also a thing.
I haven't heard of that. But I feel like the freezing grapes, it's usually green grapes.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I don't really like green grapes.
Neither
I prefer
do I.
red.
I like cotton candy grapes. If you guys have not tried cotton candy grapes, and just look in the produce section of your grocery store, oh my gosh.
You like cotton candy grapes, but you only like 2 cotton candy grapes at a time.
They're very sweet.
It'll take you like 2 months to finish a whole bag of them.
I know we talked about me liking very sweet bananas, but that's for my smoothies. So there's enough to kind of like mask it, not completely, but enough so that
with
it's
the
bearable.
other ingredients that you add.
But when it's just the cotton candy grapes, like, it just tastes like I'm eating a bunch of candy. And I'm not the type of person who really likes candy. I do like sweet things, but not like candy sweet. Speaking of sweet things, cake. Cake is one thing that does not go in the fridge or does not have to go in the fridge according to this, which I guess I can agree with.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether it's frosted or not. Like, I think if there is frosting or icing on it, then probably should put it in the fridge. But if it's like, what's that other weird thing that people put on cakes? That instead of like regular ice frosting, it's like buttercream or something?
Yeah, buttercream.
Yeah, I think that can go outside of the fridge.
I'm not much of a cake eating person, so I don't really have a preference.
Yeah, me either. I'm not... Cake and like pies aren't really my thing. I don't really like them for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the texture. I don't know. I think it is maybe just too sweet. I don't really like too sweet of things.
Speaking of sweet things, sweet potatoes. Speaking of sweeter things, sweet potatoes made the list, which I agree. I don't think that potatoes should really ever go in the fridge unless they're cooked. Like if you turn them into mashed potatoes, or if you...
I think things change when they're cooked. I think afterwards, then you should put things in the fridge. But I think a lot of these things that we're talking about, they're not even bought in a refrigerated section.
You're right.
You know, does like where you buy the things in the grocery store matter to you? Like, does it influence where you store them at home?
That's a good question, because, you know, I primarily buy my stuff in the produce section, and there are some areas where it's like kind of refrigerated, but it's not enclosed.
Yeah, it's like chilled.
Yeah. So it makes me think, well, maybe I don't have to put my broccoli in the fridge. Maybe I don't have to put my kale and my spinach and my zucchini in the fridge. But I don't know, maybe it just kind of depends on like the crispness.
Yeah, there are just a lot of foods out there that you really don't need to put in the fridge, like especially fruits that grow in warmer climates, like mango. You know, that doesn't need to go in the fridge, but people do put it in the fridge. I think a lot of the food that on this, I think there are 20 foods on this specific list. If we put none of those in the fridge, where would we store it? I think it also becomes an issue of storage.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of foods don't need to be refrigerated.
That's a good point.
But where are you going to store them if not in the fridge?
Yeah. I mean, people have pantries.
Yeah, but that's usually filled with like other like box things. So like, okay, we talked about what goes in the fridge. What goes in the pantry then? Because what if you overfill your pantry? Then what goes in the pantry to me, like bread, maybe some canned beans, cereal,
okay,
rice,
chips,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So
maybe more like snack foods, you know, like Rice Krispie treats or something, you know.
That's what would go in your pantry. So I have a bit of an open pantry in my house, and it's just a bunch of my bulk stuff.
What does that mean, open pantry?
Open pantry. So
do you mean like literally the doors open?
There are no doors. I don't know what it's called. I think it's like not a buffet table. I'm not sure how to describe it, but it's almost like a pantry just without doors, I guess. There are lower cabinets, but there aren't any above. So it's like open shelving.
You basically have like a bookcase.
Yeah, I guess so. So what I do with that is I keep all my dry stuff. So there's beans, there's lentils, there's quinoa, there's nuts and seeds, peanut butter and almond butter, because guess what, guys? It does not go in the fridge. Spices, and I have my sweet potatoes there. So those are the things that I would say don't have to go in the fridge because they're all dry. They don't need to be chilled.
Yeah, but it is an issue with storage if, people don't have that pantry, don't have that, because you don't have like a pantry per se. You have an additional thing that goes in your kitchen. That wasn't built into your home as an additional thing that you bought. So like otherwise people would be storing it on the counters or in the pantry. But I feel like there's other foods that can go in there. So to me, a lot of the thing is, storage. Where are you going to put it if not the fridge?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you brought up.
Yeah, it may not have to go in the fridge, but it's going to.
Yeah.
Just because there's no other option.
Got to keep your food safe too. Yeah. Well, some people have rodents in their house. Mm-hmm. Like maybe you have roaches, maybe you have a not so friendly rat that comes by sometimes, and you got to hide your bananas. And even if they turn black, you got to put them in the fridge, or your oranges, or your mangoes.
Yeah, I'm really glad we can get to the bottom of this question. It seemed like it's something that we really needed to talk about. We went far too long without talking about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad we can finally, put this to rest. People can stop like harassing us about it.
Yeah.
Like, when are you going to talk about tomatoes? When are you going to talk about whether or not foods belong in the fridge, or what foods belong in the fridge?
Mm-hmm. So do you think that this study answers the question? Does it matter where you store tomatoes?
I guess so. I mean, what do they come up with? It doesn't matter?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really matter. You don't have to, but if you do, fine. It's not going to change anything. Mm-hmm. I guess. I guess it would change something because the tomatoes were both served at room temperature, like we said. So if you're just gonna wait, like once you have your tomatoes out of the fridge for them to become room temperature, then something would matter. It would just how the temperature of it is what would change.
Yeah. What matters more, guys, is the variety. What changes the flavor is the flavor.
What changes the flavor is what tomato it is.
Mm-hmm. I think that this was an important question to answer, and it brought up even more important things. Like, I think we saved a lot of people.
I think so too. That doesn't seem like hyperbole at all.
We've made their lives better because now they know that they will have better spreadable peanut butter and butter on their bread. Mm-hmm. Their non-refrigerated bread. It will not crumble.
The way it should be.
It'll be creamy and it'll be great. And their bananas will be nicely ripe, and all will be good in the world. And we won't judge them based on where they put their tomatoes, but we will judge you if you put your syrup in the fridge.
And on that note, if you guys have any other study suggestions, you can email them to us at arecentstudysuggest@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. And you can follow us on Instagram
and Twitter
at
A Recent Study Pod. And be sure to rate us 5 stars on wherever you're listening to us.
Or 6.
And please, 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 please share us with a friend, family member. Let them know that you listen to a new dope podcast by Sam and Robert. Until next time.
Bye.